looked at them. I think I said in the beginning of my notes that we want to just look at it and make sure that whatever question is kind of insinuated is really what you're trying to get out of that question. What's typed in here and what's written on here is not going to be the final question. It's just kind of the thought that will then turn into the question. But in some cases you saw just a question mark after a topic. It was either because I didn't remember or I didn't write down really what the issue was. So if it was something that you had added to the list, then chime in. I think I don't want to go over this just one by one. What I'd like to do is kind of take it topic, freshwater resources, coastal resources, topic by topic, and then if anybody has anything in there that they think needs amending, or think we didn't quite capture the point, then we can talk about that. Once we get through that, which I call just kind of clarifying the issues, then we're going to vote. You're each going to get 4 per topic, per your main heading. You're going to get 4 votes. Now, we'll talk about those. Sure. Yeah. And so then we'll just see which ones kind of come out on top that way. There are going to be some questions in some of the sections that just aren't going to be addressed. Some are obviously going to rise to the occasion. But so I think what I'd like to do is just start off with freshwater resources. You want to just take a look at your notes, see if you have any notes on.
Do you have a target in terms of the length of the questionnaire?
Yeah, we had the last questionnaire was 56, I think, questions long. But many of the questions were multiple sections. They were like, do you think this? And if you do, what about that kind of question? So there were 57 questions, and it was fairly lengthy. So I think that to me that was kind of a high tolerance for what people will answer. We got a great response, so it definitely wasn't too long. So if we go 1 or 2 questions over, or even 10, I don't think it would matter. But that's kind of my tolerance. We've got 11 sections that we're going to be looking for. So I, thought about 3 or 4 questions in each section. That will leave us a little bit of leeway, a little bit of opportunity to kind of, put in some more multiple. But some of these, you'll notice, just mesh together. There could be a 2-part question.
You said 3 or 4%.
Like freshwater resources is 1 section. Right.
So is it 4 each?
Yeah, I would say, you're going to get like 4 dots to put, your top 4 questions that you think should be asked.
My question is, freshwater resources and coastal resources were subsections.
They were subsections, right.
4 per subsection.
I'm going to say 4 per subsection, but I'm also going to say that if you really can't find it, if you don't think there are 4 really important things that need to be asked, don't vote for it. The other thing you're going to get is red dots, and if you really think something shouldn't be asked, or you really think it would be a waste of time that wouldn't really give us any good information, then I would actually put some red dots on it. So, they may cancel some green votes out. But also, it's something that we can just clearly say, look, we can ignore that issue. It's something that isn't as valuable as the other issues, probably. So, and if we think that, when we get to public services and facilities, there's a lot of topics there. I think it is. So if we decide we need 5 questions in that section, or even 7, we can certainly be flexible. It's a good way to start. So anybody have anything for freshwater resources?
Well, it's a little bit nitpicky. But,
yeah, that's okay.
Non-service area, is it a beaver tail?
Well, it does have water, but it's still the rural service area, and there's only 1 water hookup allowed per lot. In other words, if they subdivide, they're not eligible for a water hookup. So it's still the rural district. But there is a water line that goes out to Beavertail, a very old water line.
And then the other thing was number 4.
Yeah.
Should we expend funds to determine the total safe yield? Can they actually determine the total safe yield of that?
They said they could. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an estimation based on a bunch of experts in the field. But, they said they were able to do that. Yeah. At least the proposal that we got, obviously 5 years ago.
There was a proposal, what is it, 5 years ago? That was, how much were they looking for?
Like 325,000 is my recollection, something like that.
And we would have confidence in the number they arrived at?
I mean, it was three completely, experts in their field, and that was what they said, that they could provide us with. I mean, it was more than just safe yield, it was a lot of information about where the water is, how much is under there.
It was actually very comprehensive.
It was very comprehensive, yeah.
But kind of,
Right.
the price tag.
Right.
For
Right.
what do you do with it once you get the answers? It's not like you can change the bill for it.
Right, and I applied, I want to say probably 3 years in a row, I applied for grants to try to get the funding,
Yeah.
even half the funding, but it wasn't funded. So we'll try again this year. What we're doing, Nancy, is we're looking through these subcategories, and if you had anything, we're not going to go through it number by number, but if you had, what we're trying to do is just ensure that kind of the gist of what this says is really the question that we want to ask. This is not the question, obviously, that's going to be on but the question will be developed based on these thoughts.
I know what kind of question on number 6, infrastructure.
I don't, and I didn't have anything written down there, so if anybody has any ideas as to what that was. Yeah, I mean, because the town has done an awful lot of infrastructure work in the last 10 years, and so I don't know what we would ask. So if we can't clarify that, then I would probably just tend to cross it off.
I guess on something like cisterns, we should elaborate a little bit and say, that we would encourage or mandate or ask people if they would want to encourage or mandate the use for non-potable water. So it could be used for irrigation or possibly toilet flushing or whatever, but water conservation basically. So that people don't think we're trying to get them to drink rainwater.
Gotcha.
Lisa, number 4, on the thing you sent out to us, it had that $350,000 number. Was that water study? There was a study.
It never was done.
It never was done. I
proposal.
remember when I first came on
Yes.
board, but it
Uh-huh.
had been studied. It was kind of put together, and it needed that amount of funds but they were going to pull together all the studies that had been done and kind of meld them into.
Yeah, it was more than just that, but it probably did involve looking at past reports that were done.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
That was a good idea at the time.
Okay. Nothing else for?
As I recall, in that particular one, though, I believe the planning commission actually recommended to the town council.
They did.
They did. The town council voted that they did not want to spend the funds to do that, as I recall.
Yeah, it was a lot of money for one budget season.
Right.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it
exactly.
wasn't like we decided not to do anything, the planning commission actually recommended it go forward.
Yes.
And it was
As I
sent down by
recall.
the town council.
Yeah, as I recall, it didn't have the support, though, of the water commissioner, who said, we don't need another study, we have all these studies.
Could be, I don't know the details.
I'm wondering if that's, I mean, I agree with
I
you.
think, you'll get to vote later, so you want to keep that question in or
To clarify that, should we just take number 4 and make it 1C? Should we expend public funds to determine the safe yield?
Yeah, you can combine those, yeah.
And then we've already eliminated one question.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Does that mean 7 is also something that should be incorporated under 1 as just another subheading?
I think it's separate.
We're talking about expansion of the system. I can accept that. All right, coastal resources. A lot of this is about public access. I'm sure there could be some combining of these once we get to it, so we don't need to talk a whole lot about that, except if something is really clear, then we can just do like we did here. There's a couple of questions, I think, about view sheds, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not.
6 was view shed, so 7 was habitat.